Hello, dear readers and watchers and followers. How are you today? Today, as you can see, I'm a little more prepared for our video, and hopefully the internet will work just as good as yesterday. So, as I mentioned quickly yesterday in my video, I am fasting, and I have started a series of fasts, kind of like started to read Dr. Jason Funk's book, which I'm going to show you right here. Complete Guide to Fasting. Awesome book that I've been reading. And I have been experimenting with fasting with myself and with my patients. And now reading this book, and I really like the work of Dr. Jason Fung. I interviewed him last year for my blog on insulin resistance, because I think he's one of the few doctors, medical doctors, that actually really understands insulin resistance and what it means and how it works on the body. So as I'm going through Dr. Funk's book, I found some really interesting points about fasting versus a low-carb diet. And I had talked about it to Dr. Fung during our interview. And of course, here in the book, he goes much deeper into it. So which one is better, and what are the benefits, and why would we do fasting? Like, why would we fast versus a keto paleo diet or a ketogenic diet? In my case, it's always keto paleo. There are a few points that I want to make from the book of Dr. Fung. Interesting enough, I want to read you a small quote here from the book that him himself, like in one of the initial chapters of the book, he says, so the best diet would emphasize whole unprocessed foods. It would be low in refined carbohydrates and high in natural fats with a moderate amount of protein. Well, that describes what we're doing here with keto paleo, right? So this he considers kind of the ideal diet. And what is the problem that we're tackling here, first of all? Well, it presents different problems which kind of span a lot of your issues of you as readers and listeners. The first one is, of course, weight loss, and the second one being diabetes 2, metabolic syndrome, obesity. So those are all problems that are related to insulin resistance. But it also goes further in the book to talk about different conditions and how fasting would benefit those conditions. In my work, personally, don't only deal with metabolic problems, although insulin resistance is a big problem. And in most instances nowadays, it is present, especially after a certain age. Mostly after 40, you will find, if you've been following a conventional, especially diet, especially American diet, you will find that insulin resistance is almost always present. So after stating that this kind of diet is ideal, like a ketogenic paleo diet, like I do, is ideal, Dr. Fung, though, makes a series of points in favor of fasting over this kind of diet. And I would like to discuss those points and see, my take on, what's better, fasting or the diet. And of course, I come from the supporting the keto paleo diet, but not necessarily, as we will see shortly. So first of all, he says diets fail, and he has used a ketogenic, not either ketogenic or low carb diet in his practice for years, and he was not seeing much success in his patients because he said it was too hard to follow, and his patients could not understand what it meant eating low carb. And now, watchers out there, please, I would love to hear your opinion on this, because that's something that, I really don't agree with that. I know that there is a learning curve, but Do you feel like keeping a ketogenic diet is too difficult for you? Or going low carb is too difficult? Do you feel like it's too hard to comply or hard to make that switch? I don't know. My patients in my practice, I know it is a learning curve and it takes a minute to really get how to eat on keto, but everything has a learning curve. And I think that everybody who is following me, or everybody out there, is smart enough to be able to understand within a short few weeks with the right guidance what it means to eat keto and to be able to follow a ketogenic diet without too many problems. Of course, it's hard to be perfect, but we don't really need to be perfect to achieve the goal of lowering insulin and lowering the insulin resistance. So to the point that Dr. Fung makes that diet is too hard to follow, I think that with the right guidance and maybe some meal plans and some feedback from your provider, or like I do for my patients, that is not the case and is totally doable. Another point he makes is that it's simple. Fasting is simple. Yes, it is simple, but it's also not that simple when you have a busy lifestyle and a lot of things going on. I don't think that fasting is always easy. Maybe as we progress into fasting and we get more used to it and break the mental barriers more than anything, as we were talking yesterday about our relationship with food and the part that our mind and habits and emotions play in the relationship to food, just the same, they can be a barrier to fasting. So breaking those mental barriers, it's important, and as we get used to fasting, it gets easier, but it's not always that easy. So it might be easier, like the third point he makes is that it's convenient. So for people that you say don't want to cook, or what do you say, don't have time or the will to cook, well, I don't think that point is really valid. I'm sorry, but you're going to have to cook at some point. You're not going to fast forever. And that's where, for me, it's the biggest question about the points that here Dr. Fung is making. Also, the point that you can use fasting when you are not, like, you can use fasting as a tool, not on a keto paleo diet, and just kind of eat a normal diet, like a sad diet with gluten and dairy and all those things that we would leave behind with keto paleo. And just, if you fast long enough or often enough, it will counterbalance the effects and enable you to reset your insulin resistance and lose weight and heal your body. And here is one of my biggest points that I don't agree with, because I think that eating inflammatory foods and allergens like gluten, like dairy, like processed foods, preservatives, toxins, it's not conducive to health. And so, yes, counterbalancing with fasting, it will be good, because we are going to be able to lower the insulin resistance. We are going to be able to lose weight if we fast long enough. But then what? Are we just going to go back to eating? Hi. Are we going to just go back? Is that Laura? I think that was Laura. And Laura, yes, fasting. I was thinking about you specifically. It's funny that you're coming to watch the video. So I don't think it's healthy to go back to eating the diet that caused the problems in the first place. And Dr. Fung mentions here, oh yes, you want to be able to enjoy life and not be too strict, and go back to eating wedding cake and drinking, champagne at the wedding. I don't agree with that point, because I think that if you really want to heal your body, you're going to have to clean up your body enough. And yes, maybe eventually you'll be able to go back and eat gluten in moderation or dairy in moderation. or carbs also in with the right amount for your body's tolerance. But to just think that you can fix health problems with fasting, and you can fix intolerances, or you can make gluten an acceptable food because you're fasting, I don't think that is right. And again, here I would love to hear your opinion and to see what you think about it as you're here watching this video, or later after you watch the replay. Please feel free to comment underneath and tell me what you think about what we're talking about. And if you do it now, I'll be able to reply right away. So another point that Dr. Fung makes is that fasting is free. And for a lot of people, our keto paleo diets are not affordable. I know for a fact, doing this diet for a long time, I know that organic food is more expensive. Buying at the farmer's market pasture meat is more expensive. Organic vegetables sometimes are more expensive, sometimes almost the same, but yes, it is more expensive to eat a healthy way, unfortunately, because of the system that we live in, and subsidies for grains and, everything. We live in a system that is not ideal and not conducive to our best health. So you can save money by fasting and then promote health with the fasting without having to spend more. Well, I think that you can't deny this point. These are facts. And when you don't eat, you definitely save money. So this is a good point about fasting. But I still think that it's not sustainable in the long term as a healing option, because not many of you will be willing to fast maybe 2-3 days a week, every week. And about wanting to enjoy life, that is part of it too. So what about good, healthy keto paleo foods to enjoy life on a regular basis? Okay, hi Nicole, let's see what Nicole has to say. I started doing 16/8 intermittent fasting and noticed more tolerant to foods that trigger me usually. Yes, intermittent fasting is a kind of fasting. There are different kinds, and Dr. Fung talks about it in the book. I like intermittent fasting for the right people, and he talks about that in the book as well. This is a great book, by the way. There is a lot of great information. I'm just sharing my take on certain opinion he expresses in the book. But I think intermittent fasting can be great when you don't have adrenal fatigue, especially for women. And in clinical practice, there goes English, I see it over and over again that certain people do not do well on intermittent fasting. Certain people actually get more cravings, more hungry, their blood sugars go up, and it kind of becomes counterproductive. And most of the times, these are people with adrenal fatigue. So we need to fix the adrenals before we can do the intermittent fasting. Because of the hormonal changes in prolonged fasting, I see that when doing a prolonged fast, even with adrenal fatigue, you can do a 3-day fast and get the benefits of it without upsetting your hormonal balance and still supporting your adrenal because of the changes that happen. So what is my take on all of this? Do I say fasting is bad? Absolutely not. Do I say keto paleo is bad or keto diets are hard to do? Also not. I think that the best possible scenario is to combine the fasting with a keto diet, especially a keto paleo diet, and do it the smart way. So fasting when it's possible and convenient in the right way for your situation, maybe long-term fasting, longer-term fasting for people with adrenal fatigue, done not so often, and intermittent fasting with people that are, good solid adrenals and, also more athletic. That seems to work better for people who are active and, work out consistently. Otherwise, depending on your case, there are certain cases in which for sure fasting works better, but in my practice, I have seen that these are cases that usually where you tried everything else and nothing works, and then you know that fasting will be the big reset button that resets their systems. Laura, if you're still watching, that's kind of what I'm thinking for you, to really do a big reset. But that would be a longer fast, and I would recommend 5 to 7 days minimum in those cases. There is going to be a blog post about this soon, I think this Friday, and resuming our points. And then I'm going to publish this video also on YouTube for you to find and refer to again. What is the shortest fast time, says Sandy. Hi, Sandy. Shortest fast time that still benefits your body versus days. I would say a 24-hour fast is probably the shortest, most beneficial one you can do. And then gently breaking the fast, reintroducing keto foods, in my opinion, you know, and if other people want to stay on a sad diet and do the fast, I would think that you probably need longer periods of fast. Thank you for watching. I have a group call now that I have to go to, or my patients will be waiting online wondering where I am. So thank you so much for watching, and check out my YouTube channel, The Nourished Caveman on YouTube. Check out my blog, The Nourished Caveman blog, and I will be trying to keep these videos coming and occasionally also look pretty for them, not just like I fell out of bed. Have a wonderful day, and thank you again, everybody.